The night had a strange silence to it, a silence that carried secrets heavier than words. What unfolded behind those closed doors would later shatter every bond, every promise, and every heart that once believed in loyalty. Before we begin, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what you are about to hear is a story of trust broken, friendship betrayed, and emotions so raw they will stay with you long after the video ends. Stay till the end, because the final moment will make you question everything you thought you knew about loyalty and love. Longmeng had always been the quiet one. Calm, thoughtful, never chasing the spotlight even though it followed him everywhere he went. Gao Tianyu, on the other hand, was the energy in every room, the laughter that made everyone stay longer, the kind of friend who could turn darkness into light. Or at least, that was what everyone believed. Their friendship had survived the wildest storms of fame. They had met years ago on set, two rising stars with dreams too bright to be ignored. Together, they faced endless nights of shooting, endless days of interviews, and the silent pressure that came with the weight of celebrity life. But somewhere in that glittering world of lights and applause, a crack began to form, small at first, invisible to the world but deep enough to change everything. It started with a rumor. A small whisper that Longmeng had been chosen for a lead role that Gao Tianyu had secretly wanted. Tianyu laughed it off in front of others, saying it did not matter, but behind closed doors, that laughter turned into something colder. Something darker. The night it all changed, there was an after-party at their director's house. Music, laughter, cameras flashing, everything felt normal. Until Longmeng stepped outside for air. The cool night wrapped around him, and the sky above seemed too quiet, as if holding its breath. He was gone for only a few minutes, but when he returned, he seemed different, distant, as though he carried something heavy on his heart. Hours later, as the crowd faded and the night deepened, Tianyu noticed something unusual. The security guards were whispering near the corridor, one of them holding a small black object in his hand. When Tianyu walked closer, he realized it was a CCTV drive. A recording. He didn't think much of it, only nodded and went back inside. What he didn't notice was the way the guard's eyes followed him. What he didn't know was that the camera had captured something no one was meant to see. By morning, Longmeng was nowhere to be found. His phone was off, his messages unread, his schedule cancelled. The studio was in chaos. Everyone asked where he was, but Tianyu had no answers. He said he last saw him laughing at the party, raising a glass to another success. But behind those calm words, something inside Tianyu trembled. Later that evening, one of the guards came to him privately. He looked uneasy, his hand shaking slightly as he handed over a small drive. He whispered, "Watch this alone." Tianyu stared at the drive for hours before finally plugging it into his laptop. The footage began slow and unclear, but then the image sharpened. He saw himself leaving the hallway. He saw the corridor, empty at first, then Longmeng walking slowly toward a door. But behind him, something mechanical moved, like a shadow rolling across the floor. The camera angle shifted, and Tianyu's heart began to pound. There, clearly in the frame, was Longmeng being guided down the hall by something he couldn't see before, something metallic and cold, carrying him toward Tianyu's own bedroom door. Tianyu froze. He couldn't breathe. The recording flickered, then ended. For a moment, he sat still, staring at the blank screen, unable to move. His own reflection stared back at him, pale and terrified. The next day, he called everyone he knew, every friend, every contact, desperate for news about Longmeng. But no one had seen him. Days turned into weeks. The media began asking questions. Some said Longmeng had disappeared on purpose. Others whispered about betrayal. Tianyu couldn't sleep. He kept replaying that footage, searching for clues, something he might have missed. The way Longmeng's shoulders were slumped. The way his head tilted slightly, as though he knew someone was watching. There was sorrow in his eyes, a sorrow that Tianyu could not forget. Then one night, a message arrived. It was from an unknown number. There were no words, only a link. His hands trembled as he opened it. It was the same footage, but longer this time. The camera panned further, showing Tianyu's bedroom door opening slowly, a faint light flickering from within. And then, the last frame froze on a handwritten note taped to the wall. It read, "You promised never to let me go." Tianyu fell to his knees. The weight of guilt crushed him. He remembered the night before the party, how Longmeng had come to him quietly, his eyes full of worry, asking if he could trust him. Tianyu had laughed it off, saying, "Always." But he had already broken that trust, already whispered to the director, already chosen his ambition over his friend. Now that friendship was gone, swallowed by silence and regret. In the months that followed, Tianyu withdrew from everything. He stopped appearing in public. He refused interviews. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that recording, that note, that look in Longmeng's eyes. It haunted him, day after day, like a ghost that refused to fade. Sometimes he would walk into the room where the CCTV was last installed and just stand there, staring at the corner of the ceiling, as though waiting for something to appear. Waiting for forgiveness that would never come. And somewhere, in the emptiness of his own heart, he finally understood. Fame had given him everything but cost him the only thing that mattered. So when the final scene fades, and the lights go dark, remember this: loyalty is fragile, and once broken, it leaves a scar that even time cannot heal. The silence in Gao Tianyu's apartment was deafening. Every tick of the clock echoed through the empty hall like a reminder of what he had lost. The curtains were always drawn, the sunlight barely touched the room, and the walls seemed to breathe with memories he could not escape. Days had turned into weeks, and still, he could not find peace. The footage haunted him like a nightmare that refused to end. He had stopped eating, stopped sleeping, only replaying the same few seconds of the CCTV over and over again, hoping for something to change. Hoping Longmeng would turn around, smile, and say it was all a misunderstanding. But that never happened. The more Tianyu watched, the more he noticed things he hadn't before. The way Longmeng's hand brushed against the wall, the way his head turned ever so slightly, as if he sensed someone watching him. There was fear in his movements, but also acceptance. Like someone who knew what was coming. Tianyu's guilt was unbearable. He remembered that last conversation clearly. The way Longmeng's eyes had softened when he said, "I trust you more than anyone." The way Tianyu had smiled back, knowing deep down that he had already betrayed that trust. He had told the director things he should never have said. Private things. Weaknesses. Insecurities. He thought it was harmless at the time, just part of the ruthless climb of fame. But now he understood what it cost him. Late one night, as the rain tapped softly against the windows, Tianyu heard a soft sound from the hallway. A click, faint but sharp enough to make him turn. His breath caught in his chest as he realized it came from the same room where the CCTV had once been installed. He walked slowly toward it, his footsteps echoing softly on the floor. The air felt heavier, colder, as if the past itself lingered there. He pushed open the door, and for a brief moment, the light flickered. The monitor that had once displayed the CCTV feed turned on by itself. Static filled the screen, then cleared. For a few seconds, the room was empty on the screen. Then the image shifted. He saw himself sitting on the floor, staring at the wall. He saw his own reflection, but behind him, standing near the door, was Longmeng. Tianyu froze. His pulse raced. He blinked, but the figure didn't fade. The camera angle changed again, showing the same moment from another perspective, this time closer. Longmeng's expression was unreadable, calm but heavy with something Tianyu couldn't define. He reached for the monitor, whispering, "Longmeng, is that you?" The image flickered again. Then, faintly, the sound came. A single sentence spoken so softly it felt like a memory more than a voice. "You promised never to let me go." The screen went dark. Tianyu stumbled back, trembling, his breath shallow. Tears streamed down his face as he sank to his knees. The realization hit him harder than ever. This wasn't a haunting. This was a consequence. A reflection of everything he had done, everything he had broken. The next morning, Tianyu drove to the old studio where they had first met. The building had long been abandoned, but he walked through its corridors like a man retracing the steps of his own mistakes. He found the dressing room where Longmeng used to sit, the walls still faintly marked by old posters and scripts. On the mirror, faintly visible under the dust, was a message written in smudged ink. "Forgive yourself, Tianyu." He stood there for hours, silent, staring at those words until the light faded from the window. Something inside him finally broke. The tears came without sound, falling onto the cracked floor, washing away years of pretense and pride. He realized then that forgiveness was not something the world could give him. It was something he had to find within himself, even if it took the rest of his life. Months passed. The industry moved on. New faces replaced the old, new names filled the headlines. But every time someone mentioned Longmeng, Tianyu's heart would ache with an emptiness no fame could fill. He left the city eventually. Found a quiet place by the sea, far from the noise and the lights. Some nights, he would sit by the window, the waves crashing softly in the distance, and he would talk into the silence as if his friend could hear him. He would whisper, "I see you everywhere, Longmeng. In every sunset, in every reflection, in every quiet moment that reminds me of what I lost." And when he finally smiled again, it was faint but real. Not because he had forgotten, but because he had learned. Learned that loyalty without truth is hollow, that friendship without honesty is fragile, and that betrayal leaves scars that never fade, only teach. In the end, Gao Tianyu's story wasn't just about loss. It was about realizing how easily trust can crumble when pride takes its place. So if you've stayed till now, take this moment to subscribe and share this story, because sometimes a single story can remind us of everything we take for granted. The people we love, the promises we make, and the truths we bury deep inside. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere out there, someone like Longmeng is still waiting for that promise to be kept.